I should be writing number 401. It's the NaNoWriMo primer for October 22nd, 2000. God, what year is it? 18.
But I should be writing. I should be working on my craft. I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft. But I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who.
Hi there. Welcome to I Should Be Writing, the podcast for wannabe fiction writers, the podcast that is intermittent and wish it was more frequent. I'm your host, Mer Lafferty. What's been going on with me? I have a book that I'm working on edits, and I wish I could announce it. It should be announced soon. Been doing some school stuff. 2 hurricanes, Florence and Michael. Everything's fine here. My mother was out power for a couple of days, which was hard on her and her husband, but everybody's good. Everybody's good now. And I did hit a bit of a depressive period. As usual, even though I'm open with my illness and take my medication without shame, still sometimes it's hard for me to say that I'm in another depressive period. I guess I don't want to admit it. And it's not a shame thing. It's if I admit it, I have to deal with it. And I don't want to be depressed. So if I don't admit it, then it's okay, right? So, once I admitted it, I started some self-care, made sure that I was taking care of myself, which is what I just said. And then took my medication regularly. I'd been doing some traveling. I went to New York Comic-Con to help promote Solo, the Star Wars story. During the trip, I did not take my medication regularly, which always has sort of a blowback about a week later. So anyway, that's what's been going on with me. I have some other professional stuff going on that I'll tell you when I can, but it's pretty cool. But it is late October, suddenly, bafflingly late October, and that means it's NaNoWriMo time. So, if you're not doing NaNoWriMo, feel free to skip this episode. My next episodes will not necessarily be focusing entirely on NaNoWriMo, but if you are interested in NaNoWriMo, then I will be doing a daily podcast for my Patreon supporters. And you can support the Patreon at $1 a month. That's 30 more podcasts. They'll be short, but daily, for $1. And I'm doing it because my Patreon supporters asked me to, so clearly people like it. So NaNoWriMo Prep. What are you going to be doing for NaNoWriMo Prep? I will tell you what I'm doing for NaNoWriMo Prep, and you can copy or not. Possibly for the first time ever, I'm in a position where I can finish all of my projects, all my current projects by November 1st and start a completely new one on November 1st, which is really exciting, actually. So I'm going to be doing that. I have my list of things that need to be done. This podcast was one of them. It's a list I actually called Splody, because it's all the things that are very close to sploding. So I need to finish all the splody stuff, turn in the things that are a little late, and address the podcasts and do some recording for Escape Pod before November 1st. And then, while I will have regular recording always to do, I will, most of the splody things will not happen again. So you can make your own splody list. You don't have to name it something so cute as to say splody, but think about the things you can get done that will not bother you next month. Second thing to do, and again, this is me. You don't have to do it. It may not apply. But when I went to New York, I forgot my power cord for my laptop. Like a fool. So, I had to go buy a new one. Did not appreciate that. But now that we have one for upstairs and one for downstairs, I now have a bag that is only for travel, and the power cord is going to stay in that bag until I need to take that bag somewhere. So I'm going to make that bag my, coffee shop bag. So now I have a bag with the power cords. You would not believe how many times I take the dang computer out to write, and I have, 5% battery. This one's going to be hard. I want to clean my desk. My desk is a wreck. It's a terrible wreck. I am a messy person, generally. And I came back from Worldcon and from New York Comic Con with more stuff to look at. Pretty stuff. Yeah, more stuff. So now I have more stuff to figure out where to put. Not great. But I'm going to clean my desk, so that'll help. Since I'm a pro writer and I work from home, and I'm not lording the whole pro writer thing, I'm just saying my family knows how important writing is to me. I'm not going to do this, but if you are new to making writing a priority, you're going to need to tell the people in your life that for the next month, writing is a priority. It bothers me that I have to say this every year, but some people have written me about how their spouse or their parents or their siblings or whatever don't actually take their writing seriously. And it breaks my heart. And the only thing I can say is you have to let them know that it matters to you. And if they want to know why you haven't written a bestseller yet, say, for the same reason you haven't run a marathon yet. Because you got to learn how to do it. And going from nothing to bestseller is like throwing a dart in a room with all the lights turned off and hitting a bullseye. Can it be done? Technically, yes. But I wouldn't bet on it. I mean, there are also people who've fallen out of airplanes without a parachute and survived. Tell your family that you're going to be writing a lot. At the same time, to help you and your schedule and the people around you. I keep saying family, but I know roommates, etc. can also apply. Find a good time to schedule your writing. Some people are going to wake up earlier, some people are going to go to bed later, some people are going to skip their lunch break. Or skip having lunch with people. If it's important to you, you'll do it. But it's hard to carve out that time, so I recommend doing it. I say if it's important to you, you'll do it. It's because I was reminded of... I have a friend who comes over to my weekly gaming night, who I haven't seen at game night for months because he decided to train for a marathon. And the group he was training with trains on the same night as game night. So he has decided to make the priority his marathon training instead of game night. And I know that wasn't the easiest decision, but it's something he decided that training for the marathon was important enough to miss game night. And so he did it. And while I miss him, I admire his dedication. So you might have to take a usual lunch date with somebody, or if you're used to going out after work or after school and doing something fun with friends, maybe skip that for a month. Grant Faulkner said he likes to go on a time hunt in October and find all the places that he can find time to do things and do them. Take all the moments that are used by stuff that's not terribly as important as writing and put that aside for writing. So when November comes, he will have that time. You don't want to wake up on November 1st and go, okay, when am I going to do this? I'm going to do it, but when? No, you want to plan this out. You want to get ready. Let's talk monetary. This is not something you have to do. By all means, NaNoWriMo is a free thing to do. You don't even have to sign in at nanowrimo.org. However, nanowrimo.org is a great charity organization that helps put programs into schools to get kids to write. And so if you can, maybe throw them $1 or $2. I donate every year. Happy to do so. Because, I support things like literacy and encouraging kids to write. So unfortunately, I was interrupted and I have to pick up this recording now, so pardon me if I've lost my groove, as it were, but I really want to get this out to you guys. Let's talk about outlining. Now, if you've listened to this show ever, you know that outlining is not my friend, but it is something that I feel that I have to do for my job. Because after you sell a book, publishers know that you can finish a book and you can tell a complete story. So your next book you can sell via outline instead of having to take these several months to write another entire book and have it be rejected. Some people still write fully like that, but if you can sell on proposal and outline, then in theory you're saving yourself time. I have not found this to be the case. But that's partly because I struggle with outlines, and I go back and forth with my agent a lot on perfecting it. Anyway, but when you're doing something like NaNoWriMo, having a rough idea of where you're going is a good idea. Now, I'm talking about outlining. The problems I have with outlining involve making my story clear to someone else when it is really nebulous in my mind. Whereas when I'm outlining for myself, I could write the dang thing in code and I'd be fine as long as I knew what I was talking about. So don't worry about how good your outline is. But just think about what you want to do. Who are your characters? What's their conflict? What are they up against? What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? Where do you think the story's going to go? I mean, that's a very basic outline right there. If you want to go further into it, I learned a lot about outlining working with the Bookburners crew because we did a lot of discussions on character arcs, each character, and what their arc was through the season. And then we discovered it was useful to tell each person's relationship to one another. And it's not like these two people are married. It is, she sees him as a weak person that needs to be protected. And he sees her, he has a complete illusion of her as being pure and wonderful, but in reality she's protecting him from whatever secret she's protecting him. But things like that. He views the other guy as a great leader, while the other guy views him as a sycophantic toady. These are extreme, but you know what I mean. We're going beyond these people are friends, and what do they look to the other person for, and what do they want from that person? That's a big thing, is what you want from people. What your characters want from people. What you want from people, that's your thing. But what your characters want from people, that's different. What your characters want from people, what your characters want from the situation, what your characters want from what their internal conflicts versus their external conflicts. I've talked about this a couple of times. Putting it completely cliche, the hard-boiled detective is a perfect example of the internal conflict versus external conflict. He's an alcoholic and a divorcee, and those are the internal conflicts he struggles with in every single story, and the external conflict is the dead body on the floor. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, her internal conflict is she just wants to be a regular teenager. Her external conflict is all the vampires attacking. These are all things you can write down and plan out early on. Slight tangent, whenever I do things around the house that don't require a lot of mental focus, I like having TV on in the background, and I don't want it to be TV that I haven't seen before or an audiobook that I haven't read before because I might miss something. So I just kind of rewatch the same series a lot. And while admitting that a lot of these shows have flaws, I've watched Friends many times, and I only recently just realized that whenever Chandler gives advice, it's always bad. And they only point it out like really late in the season. Really late in the series when Monica's like, we've talked about this. You don't give people advice. And it's like that's the first time it's pointed out. But once it's pointed out, I'm watching early on, and every time he gives advice, he's the one who told Ross to make the list of all of Rachel's bad points. And that's like, say what you will about a lot of the issues with Friends. I fully acknowledge that they're there, but the character development was pretty impressive. I mean, it goes beyond Chandler's the funny one who isn't good with women to, if he gives advice, it's got to be bad. That's just in his nature. Phoebe always assumes that everybody knows what she knows, and so when she says secrets out loud, it usually leads to chaos, and she doesn't even know she's doing it. You can see character aspects like this in a lot of ensemble type stories. Talk about problematic. I really dislike all the characters in Sex and the City, but I love them as a character study because I could pick up a script and you could remove all the characters from the script and I could tell you who said what line because each character speaks so distinctly. Also, Miranda was always eating. That was a weird thing. Anyway, so think about that. Think about your favorite characters in book or TV. I usually reference TV because more people have seen the same TV shows than have read the same books. So I know we're talking about writing, not script writing, but that's why I go there. You know, what's funny about The Good Place is each character, they talk about their aspects all the time. Except in the first season. But if you notice, in the first season, Chidi is always saying, Eleanor, what do we do? Because Chidi can't make a decision. And lastly, I kind of want you to think about the doldrums. The doldrums are something that hit me around after the first week. It's NaNoWriMo's, it's an exciting thing that everyone talks about, and it's really exciting to think about the big project of it all and breaking it down and achieving something. And then after a couple of days, that excitement wears off. It just goes away. Because all that's left is the work. I mean, yeah, it's exciting to think about running a marathon, but you know, when you hit mile 15, there's no excitement there. There's just running. So plan for that time. I don't know what to do to plan for that time, but I'm thinking I need to plan for that time, and so do you, because when the excitement goes away and all that's left is, oh crap, I've got to write 1,600 words today, and I had a crappy day at work, and I've still got to cook dinner, I'll just punt it till tomorrow. And then that's when things start to go. You can do that, but you've got to be disciplined and catch up. So think about what you're going to do for yourself at the doldrums. Think about little rewards you can give yourself. The tiniest rewards for me is I line up pretzel M&Ms in front of me, and I get one for every 100 words I write. Sad thing is, pretzel M&Ms are not the most popular, so it's hard for me to find them sometimes. So I'm going to be needing to go to the grocery store and stock up if I can find them. I have some left over from my last project, but I don't think it's going to last me through NaNoWriMo. Those are tiny little rewards. You could have daily rewards of treating yourself to something you've been wanting to watch. I would say you could treat yourself to something shopping, but that's probably too expensive to do every day. Treat yourself to some video game time. Treat yourself to just a cup of coffee. And really enjoy that cup of coffee. Don't do anything else. Just sit there and enjoy it. Or cut off your phone. And don't look at your phone until you're done with your words, and then that's your reward. I wonder if Amazon has pretzel M&Ms. Sorry, I'm getting off topic. The thing is, the planning is exciting and talking about it is exciting. And I'm planning all these Patreon NaNoWriMo episodes. And I've got a theme this year, and I think it's going to be fun. It's, the movies The Purge, where there's one night a year where all laws are void and people can run out and do whatever they want. Well, I thought about the rules of writing. And I thought the NaNoWriMo is the big purge, because you're supposed to throw all of those out the window. So, throughout November, Patreon supporters will get a daily show of all the writing rules you can break in the NaNoWriMo purge. If you support at the $5 or more level, you can have access to the I Should Be Writing Discord, where we talk about our projects, we do writing sprints, and we'll be having a NaNoWriMo specific room. So if you enjoy the community aspect of NaNoWriMo, but want a smaller community than the millions of people doing it, or hundreds of thousands or whatever, then you can check us out. Discord for the older crowd, and by older crowd I mean me, is basically just IRC. It's another chat room. It's designed mainly for gamers, but it's, you can make your own chat rooms and make them private, which I Should Be Writing is. So if you have supported at the $5 and up level, the codes I send out are either evergreen, forever type open, which I'm not comfortable doing, or it's 24 hours. So when I make a code and I send it out, it goes away in 24 hours. But if you are interested and at the $5 level and you haven't received a code, then please email me. I'll be happy to get you one. It is exciting, but it's a long haul. And that's why I'm here for you. I'll be doing a new project of mine. I'm excited. That's right, I mentioned that when I recorded earlier. As Matt Wallace says, stone cold prose, ladies and gentlemen. Hugo Award-winning, Hall of Famer podcaster, still flying by the seat of my pants. And you guys still listen. Thank you. All right. We're going to put a hold on this because I got to start planning NaNoWriMo episodes. So thank you for listening. You can see my blog and all the stuff at merverse.com. If you want to friend me on NaNoWriMo, their friending abilities are kind of rudimentary, and I think Grant Faulkner said he was going to have a new design this year, and I don't see the new design, so that's a little disappointing. But anyway, I will try to friend you back, and that's Mighty Mer on NaNoWriMo as well. And again, I'll say the patreon.com/MightyMer. It supports the podcast. It supports me and Matt doing the podcasts. Ditch Diggers and I Should Be Writing. And you will get early episodes of the podcast. You will get the NaNoWriMo episodes daily. And just more messages from me. So that is it. Good luck with NaNoWriMo. Good luck with your planning. And you should be writing. Remember, you can support the show at patreon.com/MightyMer. I Should Be Writing theme music provided by John Anelio. You can find more about him at johnanelio.com. This podcast is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike license.
The fact that Doctor Who is on TV